right, we are talking with Amanda in Florida. Her son came home from college during COVID and had changed his attitudes to a point of disrespect, to the point that they asked him to not stay with them anymore. He does, however, still work for his dad's company, and that's about how far we got in the discussion. A lot of pain, a lot of things going on. And Amanda, then you were getting ready to pose your question, and we ran into a commercial break. So how can we help?
So he's working for my husband. He's decided that, this is what he wants to do for a living. It's a construction block company. And so he's dropped out of school. And we told him from the beginning that because we gave him several opportunities to say, to make sure this is what he wanted to do, that he has to pay us back for school if he messes it up. Like if he does things that he, And so as he's working for my husband, we've asked him to move out. He's moved in with his girlfriend's family. We've told him he has to pay us back $1,000 a month, and he's making good money. So I guess my question is that reasonable? We told him if he decides he's not paying us back, then he no longer has a job with my husband. And again, this is all stuff I never thought I'd have to deal with. And I'm just trying to, of course, I feel guilty that we've kicked him out, but I know we needed to. It's just all this. I don't know. I think I'm just wanting some confirmation or correction, whichever.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a couple of things going on here. One is I want to high-five you for you and your husband get on the same page and setting boundaries, whatever those happen to be. I know those are hard, especially when it comes to that moment when you look at your son, who's 21 on one hand and who's still, like 3, right? You still remember those days. And you still got a 3-year-old there too, and that's not easy. And so I want to high five you guys for doing the hard, right, loving thing. The second thing is, before we get into the nitty gritty about the stipulations you put on him financially and his work, is I want to encourage you and your husband to, what I would say, get off site, which is, that's a business term for y'all go get breakfast and sit down together and grieve the loss of the picture that you had in your head. That was when our son's 21. And then say that picture for right now looks different, and then say, here's the new one. And what happens often is folks just move right into the next thing. They race into it. They, to quote the language we use here, they stay gazelle intense, and they never stop to transition from one picture to the next. And it just adds weight and pain to all the conversation discussions, and it just makes things cloudy and messy. And then so when it comes to the financial thing, here's my thing. I've worked with so many 19, 20, 21-year-olds, thousands over the years, and I would really challenge you all, if you and your husband are together, y'all are united, to give him a moment. And I get the dollars and cents. And Dave, I'd love to hear your perspective as a guy who's parented older kids. I haven't. Mine are still young. My guess is he's gonna circle back around. And my guess is that he is in a season, he's in a moment, and he's testing boundaries. He's seeing how much y'all love him, how much you care about him. And my opinion is putting a dollar amount on it right this second when things are hot and things are painful. That may not be that's going to give him fuel to a punitive fire versus a we love you fire. That said, your boundaries are your boundaries, and you get to decide what those are. And my opinion, Dave, is I wouldn't bring money into this conversation. Like, you owe us now. Doesn't seem like the right moment to be having that conversation.
How much money? How much money is he into you for?
Well, honestly, like. 20,000.
Okay. And what's your household? What's your household income?
Mine and my husband's, probably just under 100.
Okay. And then you're wanting to add what? You were asking what?
From Adam, we're asking him for $1,000 a month.
No, you were just about to add some more information. Yeah.
Okay. So, to John's point, what you're trying to do, and it's a struggle for in these high stress situations to maintain it. You're trying to help him. That's the goal. Your reason for doing all of this is 5% self-protection, and I demand anyone in my presence to have reasonable respect for me. That's normal. But 5% of this is that. 95% of this is you know the way he's acting is not good for him, and you're trying to help him adjust his behavior so the 30-year-old him is a better him. Agreed?
True. Yeah.
And so the way I would ask myself the question is not, do I hold fast to this particular rule of the money? I would ask whether forgiving that money or waiting a little bit to collect that money, or being hardcore to collect that money now, which one of those things brings him to where you want him to be? Because this is about you still parenting him. That's really what it amounts to.
Yeah.
And that's a reasonable thing. So if I love someone, I'm trying to do what's best for them. So you have one tool left in your hands. You have two tools, the debt and the job. These are the 2 points of leverage you have with him. How can we best use those 2 points of leverage to get him to ultimately be a person that he's going to like and that he's going to want to be later? Because that's all we're trying to do as parents. We're just trying to turn them into humans, and turn them into good humans. Turn them into good humans. And right now you got one with a mouth on him.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that what I've seen parents do is get into a tug of war, and then eventually you get to a place where a line is drawn so deeply that there's no coming back from it. And a 21-year-old whose brain is still developing and who's still getting a lot of outside info from his buddies and from social media and from other nonsense crosses a line that it's hard for them, whether it's a shame-wise or whether they end up lying to the people who love them the most or stealing from those who love them the most. They end up in a place that it's hard for them to ever walk back from. And so, like Dave said, I would challenge you guys to play a 20-year game, a 10-year game, versus I want him to pay a living with his girlfriend tax. Or would your husband do that to another employee who worked for him, right? Would hold those same outside of the
Now, I will tell you, on that side of it, from a family business perspective, he cannot work there unless he is doing the job and having the same level of respect as other employees are expected.
Yeah, he's an employee.
Yeah, he can't bring his freaking little 21-year-old mouth to work with him. Because I'll fire his little butt for that. In a heartbeat, I would. But you're gonna act like I'm the CEO because by God I am at work, and you're gonna act like you're an employee because you are. And that's not a boundary I'm willing to negotiate on, because you're going to create a toxic work environment for the rest of the team there, because your family drama is now playing out in your husband's business. Bad plan. Do not allow that to happen. But as long as he's respectful at work, gets his work done, keeps his nose clean, so to speak, then you can play games with the money stuff. And otherwise, you can decide to be hardcore, forgive it completely, or delay it, or whatever, anywhere in there. But what gets you to where you want to be? What has the most likelihood of him turning the corner? What causes that? Grace or rules? Sometimes it's rules, and sometimes it's grace. You just got to make that call prayerfully. And John's suggestion, you guys getting off-site and kind of unpacking this rather than calling all the plays in the huddle real time is really wise, because it's really, really easy when you are parenting teenagers to call all your plays in the huddle, which can cause damage to that teenager because parents lose it.
So Dave, when did you and your family decide we're gonna y'all had stay-at-home conversation or a hard conversation about here's when I'm dad, here's when I'm employer?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. As soon as they started talking about working here, we wear different hats.
I think that's an important line to draw if you employ your kids.
You've heard them, Rachel, Daniel, Denise, all of them call me Dave at the office. This weekend at the lake house, Papa Dave.
And that's intentionality right there.
Absolutely. Very, very clear. I'm a CEO here. I'm Grandpa this weekend.
Beautiful.
This is the Dave Ramsey Show.